Hello and welcome to Four Wheels Good, the motoring show which brings you everything from luxury models to raw beasts. The programme with a passion for our four-wheeled friends. And in the Motor Menagerie today we take a trip with Yasmin Mills, who shows us how you can become a top driver in the world of motor racing at a celebrity-filled kart racing circuit in the Big Smoke. We show you how thousands of second-hand car bars are diddled out of thousands of pounds every day. And John's back, that's right, John Wright in Inside Motors. Now, there are many estate cars to choose from these days, but not many of them can boast to be top-of-the-range luxury models with 0 to 60 times in less than 10 seconds. We sent Ian Royal to test drive two of the finest managers' motors and to decide which one should be crowned king of the Executive Expresses.
The days when buying an estate car meant having to put up with a noisy, lumbering vehicle whose main concern was to carry large loads with very little comfort for the driver and passengers, thankfully, are long gone. These days, manufacturers go to great lengths to produce estate cars as good as saloons, with the added advantage of being able to open up the tailgate and throw your gear in the back. Well, for the past few years, the most desirable estate cars have been from BMW and Mercedes, the 5 Series and the E-Class estates. And these two are the latest offerings, the BMW 540 Touring and the Mercedes E430 estate, both top-of-the-range cars. So if you had the near £50,000 that both of these cars would cost to buy, where would your money go? Would it go to Bavaria or would it go to Stuttgart? Well, let me help you decide. The BMW is powered by a 4.4-litre V8 engine which produces a whopping 286 brake horsepower. It gives a 0 to 60 time in just over 6 seconds and a top speed limited to 155 miles per hour. And of course, in reality, the only time you're ever going to get near that, hopefully, is on the autobahns in Germany. The Mercedes is a 4.3-litre V8 producing 279 brake horsepower, top speed of around 150 miles per hour and 0 to 60 very respectable, just under 7 seconds. Fuel consumption is not quite as good as the BMW, and it also lacks that slight edge in the power department as well. The BMW has the more classy interior for me. Space-wise, it's quite adequate for both rear passengers and luggage space in the boot. And the BMW has the option of this rather smart retractable load floor. So if you put lots of heavy items into your car, this is a great idea. The true load carrier is by far the Mercedes. It's positively huge in the back, far bigger than the 5 Series offers. You can also make it a true 7-seater with the extra bench seat which folds up and down very easily. And there's also more space for rear seat passengers, although the seats are rather firm for my liking. So what about equipment? Well, the Mercedes has everything you would expect. It has air conditioning, leather, wood, a CD player and the like. And that's perhaps what lets the Mercedes down. They don't seem keen to go down the route of having lots of gadgets. This car is very typically Mercedes, unlike the BMW, which is absolutely packed full of gadgets, as you'll see in a moment. Perhaps Mercedes feel that their customers don't want TV screens, satellite navigation and the like. So let's go and take a look at the BMW, which really is a 21st century car. Now, I must point out that this 540 Touring, despite its £45,000 price tag, does not come as standard with the gadgets I'm about to show you. Firstly, the TV screen acts as a menu for just about everything: the speed control, fuel consumption, range, and the controls for the radio. But then you get into the really fun parts, things like the satellite navigation, the television with teletext, and the controls for a GSM mobile phone. I did try out satellite navigation yesterday on a quick route, and it worked very well and was very easy and quick to use. The television with teletext, again, you can only use the television, see the television when the car is stationary and you have the gear selector in park, but it does work very well. You can tune into your favourite TV programmes, catch up with the latest news and sport on teletext. Now, as I mentioned before, the gadgets on this 540 Touring are extras, and they mount up to a whopping £9,000 on top of £45,000, so it's an awful lot of money. But the most important thing with a car like this is how it drives. So let's see, shall we? The BMW comes with a choice of manual or automatic gearbox. The manual is 6-speed and the automatic is BMW's Steptronic box. What's Steptronic? Well, it's basically a semi-automatic gearbox. You can drive with the box in D, then simply flick it over and you're in sport mode and change up and down manually, and it really works very well, and personally I love it. It's excellent. There really is a fantastic amount of power in the BMW, and even when you're pushing it hard, fuel consumption is still good for what is a big engine and a V8 at that. The steering, perhaps for me, is a little light and vague at times, and you can't throw the car around like you would a sports car. The ride, though, is what you'd expect from a BMW. It's soft, it's supple, and the suspension is excellent. So, how does the Mercedes drive on the road? Well, the suspension is firm rather than soft, and it doesn't quite involve you enough in the way that the car drives. Steering, again, is a little light and vague at times, but there's plenty of power there. This really is a car that's ideal for cruising on the motorway at speed, and if you can get it up on the Autobahn, all the better. Now, you also have the choice of an automatic gearbox on the Mercedes. There's no manual option, and there's certainly no semi-automatic version like on the BMW, and that really is a big disappointment on a car like this. Mercedes, for some reason, seem reluctant to go down the route of introducing a semi-automatic gearbox, and that really is a great shame. One item which I really miss on both the new 5 Series and the E-Class, which we found on both of the previous models, are the centre armrests. As I say, it is only a small thing and it's a silly little thing, but I used to find them both incredibly useful. The BMW used to have 2 armrests on either of the front seats, and the Mercedes E-Class, the old model, used to have a great big thing in the middle there, which was really comfortable and really useful. Both of the cars these days prefer to go for these cubby box come armrests, which are really no good as armrests and aren't particularly useful. So, final impressions on the Mercedes 430 and the BMW 540. Well, they're both very fine cars. If you're in the market for an executive express, these 2 cars should be on your shopping list. They're safe, they're powerful, and they're very fast. And they offer ample room for the family, for the luggage and the pets. So, decision time. Where would my £50,000 go? Well, the Mercedes, as I say, is a very fine car. If you need true carrying capacity, the Mercedes would be your choice. But I veer towards the BMW for its style, for its panache, and it's fun to drive. So just about my choice, the BMW 540 Touring. So I'm off to see my bank manager to see if I can arrange a second mortgage to buy one of these.
2 beautiful cars there getting the royal treatment. Now, as you're probably aware, most motor racing giants started their careers in cars of a considerably smaller variety than they're now used to. However, many of them still maintain that racing in karts is the only way to learn to drive a Formula One car. Yasmin Mills has been meeting a few people who swear by the first rung in the ladder of an adrenaline-filled future.
Go-Karting track. It may look like a giant scale electric set, but in fact this is how most Formula One racing drivers started, and it's something that all of you can try at home. This is Charles Graham, who is one of the directors of Daytona, along with Shane Ritchie and who else?
And Danny Bear.
And what made you start up Daytona?
Always had a love for go-karts, and I love the entertainment business, which we're somewhere between the 2, racing and the go-kart business, entertainment business. I've always enjoyed that, so here we are today.
Which one was the first track?
This one in White City in West London, and a year ago we opened a track in Milton Keynes, which I think you've been up to with Danny.
Danny, what exactly is your involvement with Daytona?
Well, I'm a non-executive director. Sounds rather posh, doesn't it? I'm one of the spokespeople for the company and also have bought into the company. So basically I get to ride for free whenever I like, so it's great.
And what's so great about go-karting?
Oh, you have to come down and do it to really realise what it's all about. I can't just stand here and describe it to somebody who's never done it before, because it's the thrill and the adrenaline, and it's like Formula One racing. They could stand there and talk you till you're blue in the face, but unless you actually do it yourself, you'll never really experience it properly. So.
You're particularly into cars as well. Where did all that start?
I think from my dad. I mean, he's always been obsessed with cars, and I've just kind of been brought up with two brothers who also love cars, so just kind of been around them really.
What kind of people do you get coming down to the track?
Two types of customer. The corporate customer, where maybe one of the merchant bankers will book the place out for the evening, they'll take the whole place. And the other type of customer is an enthusiast, who then will come at the weekend and come on his own or with a few friends and race.
No matter how many times you come here and do it, every time when you get out the car, you can get in the car and you feel all nice and relaxed and yeah, I've done this before. But when you get out that car, 10 minutes later, you're shaking like a leaf, you're fired up with adrenaline, you just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I sort of pay a couple of people for my friends for the day, and you know, we come down and just have a go around the track. You've got practice, or you come down and do an open session like this in the evening.
The adrenaline rush you get when you're racing, you don't get there anywhere else, bar the M25, and that's costs you a bit too much money, I think, to ram into the back of people on the M25.
And what do you think it's got a quite a sort of drunken laddie image, even though I know they can't drink on the track? I mean, does it still have that very laddish image?
Well, all I would say is look around you at the new reception facility here, and you can see we're trying to get away from that. We're not cheap. We're certainly at the top end of the market, so we don't tend to attract those kind of customers, really.
So corporate business, it's usually people coming with a whole bunch of friends from work, or...
That's what we're after, the corporate business, yeah.
And tell me a bit about how the actual car works. I mean, what is so special about these cars?
Well, it's a racing chassis built by BizKart. You've got a Honda 200cc engine right down here beside you. It's automatic. You still have to be there, of course, but all you have to do to get it moving is push the accelerator over here with your right foot, and then you've got brakes over here on the left, and a steering wheel. So it's fairly simple. You've really only got those three controls. And the one you're sitting in, Yasmin, is quite special, because you can see it's got these hand controls here, so it's actually adapted for handicapped people. And we get quite a lot of handicapped people who come and race in this car.
And a lot of people, even in Formula One, started in karting. So would it be this kind of kart that some sort of Schumacher might have been racing in years ago?
Schumacher's the perfect example. He probably started in what is called two-stroke, which is a slightly more powerful engine which you would race outdoors. You would own the kart, as opposed to turning up at a track like this where we prepare the kart for you. You just pay your money, get in and race.
So this kind of kart, how fast can it go?
This one, I think the top speed's about 40-45 miles an hour. And then if you go to Milton Keynes, you've got another engine just like this on the other side. You probably remember they're pretty fast. They can do about 75 miles an hour. So they're pretty grown up.
How safe is it though on one of these tracks?
Well, the beauty of karting is the kart's so light. It doesn't have any kinetic energy. So if it goes into something, it doesn't carry a lot of energy. So you tend to, touch wood, not have a high rate of injury. You know, we have a fantastic safety record here. And I'm sure Danny and Shane wouldn't have wanted to get involved in something that was potentially damaging to their name, you know, so that kind of speaks for itself.
And what does your driving ability have to be like to be able to really enjoy yourself on the track?
I don't think you have to have really any driving ability at all. Everybody finds a level in these things. Anyone can go out there and will overtake somebody and get a big rush because of that. Or just get around the circuit and do a good lap time so they really enjoy it. Everybody finds a level, I think.
So you could just be doing it for a laugh. I mean, it's something that anyone can have a go at.
I think so. And as I was saying earlier, the beauty of this machine is it's automatic. There are no gears, there's no clutch. We get a lot of people who don't even have a driving license. They just jump in the car and have a go.
The adrenaline rush is just as good. Doesn't matter whether you're winning anywhere in the field, you've got somebody in front of you, you've got to beat them, you just got to beat them.
There's like a regular group of people that come, so you meet all those and you have ongoing battles with them, and some weeks they beat you, some weeks you beat them, and then there's a whole load of new people as well, and sometimes they're really good and sometimes they're not so good, so it's a great mix.
It's the adrenaline once you get out there. People sort of sit on the sidelines and look at it and think, yeah, that'd be good to try. But once you get out there, it's an entirely different issue. You suddenly become an animal.
Yasmin Mills finding out about a sport which everyone can enjoy, whatever their ability. That's it for part one, but join us after the break when we'll be finding out how you can save yourself thousands when buying a second-hand vehicle. And John Wright will be getting his engine sorted in Inside Motors. See you then. Welcome back to Four Wheels Good, the motor show which shows you the four wheels way. Now, if you're interested in buying a second-hand car, how do you make sure you don't end up with a lump of motorised misery? Well, there is one way of making sure this doesn't happen. Peter Baker has been finding out more.
It's every motorist's worst nightmare. You buy a car after searching and driving, but then you realise after parting with your hard-earned cash that you've bought a lemon.
The cam belt went on it, so we went to not the actual dealer we got it from elsewhere, and they told us we shouldn't be driving the car. So somebody from where we got it from came to pick it up, took it back to tighten the cam belt up. We had that done, and then prior from that the wheels started to squeal, and the tracking had gone on the front. So we tried to have that done. They said that was fixed. It still carried on, and then from there on other problems occurred.
Julie thought that the car would have been thoroughly checked over. After all, she had gone to a main dealer.
We went because we didn't want to go to any backstreet garage. We wanted it from a main dealer, knowing what we were going to get was going to be good. And with having all the checks on it, 114-point check, you'd feel it would be efficiently correct and everything would be okay. But it worked out that obviously things weren't okay. Next time we will definitely be having it looked over before we buy a car.
We met up with Julie at the Automobile Buyer Service, or ABS. They are the UK's largest independent inspectors of cars. The word independent is important here, as they are not beholden to any manufacturer or dealer group.
I would expect the roof to be of original paint thickness, which that is as near as one would get to an original thickness. That's the depth of paint in microns. So then if we use that as a kind of reference and then move round the car, it immediately tells us that that panel has been painted.
In Alan's job, he often finds that people's pride and joy have a hidden history, one that is not obvious at the time of purchase.
It's fairly evident that the car has been damaged to the near side rear, with replacement panels having been put into the car. The job is reasonable, but it's not a top quality job, and the quality of the finish is not what you would expect from a good quality workshop, good quality body shop.
Now, this car was purchased from a main dealer. Now, most people would think they'd be pretty safe buying from a main dealer.
I think the problem comes that sometimes main dealers are not 100% aware of the stock that they're taking in.
So the lesson to be learned here is that you need to go much further in your detective work than simply run the registration number through a computer to find its history.
As you've seen in the example that we've shown you today on the Vauxhall, a data check does not show everything that a potential buyer of a car needs to know.
Why? What does it actually tell you and what doesn't it tell you?
The data check will only tell you if it's been recorded as having a major write-off by an insurance company, if it has outstanding finance, any number plate changes, or if it shows up as a risk car. A car that has simply had a bad accident and has not actually been written off will not be recorded, and the only way to determine this is by a physical examination by an expert.
I think it's very important, no matter where the car's purchased from, whether it be a private sale or whether it be a garage or a main dealership. Most people do not know the history of a used car, and in that respect it really does pay to have the car inspected prior to purchase. It saves an awful lot of problems and grief afterwards.
What a brilliant system. You're bound to really get the bargain you think you're getting. Now, if you've ever thought of taking an old engine and reconditioning it, then there's one man you need to watch very closely. His name is John Wright. His business is Inside Motors.
the minute all he's doing is actually preparing the wheel ready for us. He's just dressing the surface of the wheel so it's really flat. There's nothing like being able to do a good job. So this operation is what they call precision grinding. Just making sure it's absolutely precise. Just checking the centering of the crankshaft. Right, now the crankshaft's centred up, we can begin some work on the main bearings. What do you reckon to that then?
At the moment it's minus 20, which on these can go down to about 50,000 below.
What are you going to take it to? Minus 30?
Minus 30. I should take this one too.
Great stuff.
Fun.
That's what bearings we're getting, so.
The bearings you're getting 30s, right. So, yeah, just go down to 30, no problems.
Okay. That's absolutely amazing. It goes from being horrible to beautiful in less than 2 seconds.
John will return with more Inside Motors next week. Also in next week's show, we'll be spending some quality time with owners of Peugeot cars. We'll have racers and show cars of every variety, all assembled at the Motor Industry Research Association. And Steve Vokens will be living with one of the finest luxury vehicles available. See you then.